Good morning. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I am honored to stand with a number of public servants, including our governor, who care about our place and care about the folks that we serve and are coming together in an unprecedented way to fight crime, and not just in the city of Albuquerque, but in Bernalillo County and in the state of New Mexico. Each of these individuals is going to talk today, and the governor has a special announcement. And Governor, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for your leadership. I want to thank you for your partnership, and Chief Casetas as well, and our friends from the county, and from the sheriff's office, and from the DA's office as well. I'll make some individual introductions on this. So let me just start with setting the stage on why we're here. We're here because we have too many people in our community that are on the streets committing crime. They're stealing your car, they're dealing drugs, they're committing violent crime. We have had some unprecedented disruptions in our criminal justice system that have taken us from the 4 lowest crime rates in our city's history just a couple of years ago to a spike in crime that we are now tackling together. So this is all about focusing resources, it's about focusing our efforts, teaming up like we have never teamed up before to make sure that those repeat offenders, those people who maybe used to be in jail who aren't anymore, get the full attention of our prosecutors, our police officers, our partners in public safety, and then the governor's got a great partnership that she's going to talk about today as well. I talk to people in our community and they ask me, what's happening with crime? What's going on? And it's a long story, but when I tell them the part of the story where I say there are 2,000 less people in jail than there used to be, that literally 2,000 people got let out of jail in the last year and a half, first thing they say is, I had no idea. Secondly, they're shocked. So this isn't about necessarily putting 2,000 people back in jail, but this is about going after those repeat offenders that are being allowed to walk the streets, and they're doing a lot of harm. So in May of this year, I was really honored to stand up with our new district attorney, Raul Torres, with Chief Eden and the Sheriff's Department, or Sheriff Manny Gonzalez and his team, agents from the FBI, agent in charge Terry Wade, and others to roll out the ALERT program. So like a lot of things in government, ALERT is an acronym. And what ALERT stands for is Analysis Led Recidivism Task Force Team. Help me out here. I lost the words on it. Team. So Analysis Led Recidivism Team. So what is that? That is a way to identify and track through the criminal justice system, apprehend when necessary, and aggressively prosecute serious repeat offenders in the city of Albuquerque, and now you're seeing this program expand. In October, I announced that the city would hire people to closely monitor serious offenders as they make their way through the criminal justice system. Using these newly hired analysts at APD, at our real-time crime center, the team will identify serious repeat offenders based on felony arrest history, their propensity for failing to make court appearances, and the type of criminal activity that they are engaged in, such as violent crimes, certain categories that are currently spiking in Albuquerque, like auto theft. At or before when one of these identified serious repeat offenders is arrested, the team has created an alert system that immediately notifies the district attorney's office so the prosecutors can give the offender's case the highest priority status and argue for stricter conditions of release and, when necessary and reasonable, a no bond hold if the circumstances warrant that. We also included a new piece of information, and that is how many times the offender's fingerprints have been found at crime scenes. As part of this process, the repeat offender analysis team will prepare extensive background packets for prosecutors. So that's a different branch of government. So let's talk about that a little bit. We've got police, we've got state police, we've got sheriff out, we are arresting people. Then we have the prosecution side, then we have the other parts of the criminal justice system. So these extensive background packets for the folks at the DA's office provide them and judges a better and more detailed understanding of each offender's criminal history so they can best utilize and link those resources and partner better. These packets will include information on prior arrests, prior convictions, specific details of the crime, relevant details of past crime, and as I said earlier, previous history of failure to appear. So since May of this year, 22 identified alert offenders have been arrested in Bernalillo County. So 22 times someone that we've identified through this new system has been arrested. And each time, the district attorney's office was immediately notified and provided with extensive background information about each offender's criminal history by our real-time crime center to be used at each offender's first appearance in court in an effort to argue for stricter conditions of release or preventative detention when applicable. These cases have been given the highest priority, and they are being prosecuted aggressively from start to finish. In several instances, our alert offenders have been detained in jail prior to trial or issued strict conditions of release due to the seriousness of their past criminal activity. Additionally, over the past several weeks, we're starting to see results from that. 3 of these alert offenders have been sentenced in a court of law to significant prison terms, one individual to 4.5 years. So the program is innovative, it's new, it's all about a partnership, it's all of us working together. We are adding partners to the program, and today I am so honored to have the governor of our great state here, Susana Martinez, who is going to tell you about what the state is doing, how they're joining this particular effort and other efforts that they have to help us combat this crime situation. Governor, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it, sir. Not quite a stop. First of all, good morning to all of you, and thank you for being here. And of course, thank you to Mayor Barry. I'm pleased to see the commitment from local leaders and of course our law enforcement officers to work together to make sure our community is safer and get criminals off the streets and in jail or prison where they belong. I'm directing our state agencies like the Department of Corrections, the Department of Public Safety, and the State Police, and the New Mexico State Police, of course, has been participating and will continue to join these efforts and participate in the ALERT program by teaming up and working more closely with our local partners. We'll make sure the men and women in law enforcement have more information they need to target the worst criminals in our state, repeat offenders, criminals who have warrants, criminals who cannot obey court orders. We're going to track them down and they're going to be arrested. And help also the prosecutors and judges keep these criminals behind bars where they belong. This is an important step. As you all know, I've been a prosecutor for 25 years and I come from a law enforcement family. I've seen firsthand how our law enforcement officers put their lives on the line every single day. They face the worst of the worst so that we don't have to. That's why we need to keep doing all we can to give them the tools that they need to do the job and get it done. And when it comes to going after the bad guys, accurate, up-to-date, and complete information is one of the most important tools they can have. Our state agencies will team up with our ALERT partners to better share information like which known criminals are out on the street, on probation or on parole, or fleeing from justice. When criminals do things like this, skip out on probation or parole, or even miss a court date, State Police and our Corrections Fugitive Task Force will team up with other law enforcement officers to bring these criminals to justice. Law enforcement and the courts will be able to better track convicted felons in the Albuquerque area. More of our partners will know who these offenders are and where to find them. Corrections will be able to move more quickly, share information like who's skipping out on parole and who's skipping out on probation. Courts and police will also have better access to criminal history. And all of our law enforcement partners will be able to communicate more effectively, to work together, to go after the criminals who run from justice. Our men and women in uniform work so hard to keep our families safe, and safe from the criminals on the streets. They deserve every tool that we can give them to go after the bad guys and get them off the streets. New Mexicans do not deserve to be afraid, whether it be in their homes or as they're traveling between work and home to school It doesn't matter where they are in this city or state, they don't deserve to be afraid that they may be assaulted or there are criminals around them that may keep them unsafe. And when they find them and bring them to justice, our law enforcement professionals also deserve a judicial system that works to hold criminals accountable and puts them behind bars where they belong. Rest assured, part of our efforts will be keeping a close eye on the courts as well, to see how they're handling the repeat offenders who deserve to be behind bars. Criminals who terrorize our communities and evade justice deserve far more than slaps on the wrist. And by working together to share information, our courts will be better informed and prepared to deal with these criminals. I'm grateful to all of our state and local agencies who are stepping up to work together to crack down on criminals. Just this week, our state police and Department of Corrections partnered up with agencies like the Albuquerque Police Department, Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, and the United States Marshals to round up some of the worst repeat violent offenders in the metro area. They targeted some of the area's most dangerous criminals. And the operation was a major success, getting 26 fugitives off the street, in addition to nearly a dozen more criminals our state police and corrections fugitive task force have arrested this month alone. These criminals should be back in jail and in prison, where they won't be able to terrorize our families. Partnerships like these, of course, and others show what we can accomplish when we work together. We're going to continue to do all we can to make New Mexico safer. And to our law enforcement officers on the streets, we want to make sure that you are safe, have every possible tool available to you, and of course, Godspeed and be safe in every day of your work in making sure you're serving the people of New Mexico. God bless.
Thanks, Devin. Thank you. Next, I'm going to bring up Adolfo Mendez, who I've gotten to know as a mayor, as I've gotten to know Raul Torres. Your district attorney and myself as your mayor, we've traveled twice with teams in the last couple of weeks, once to San Francisco, just last week to Washington, D.C. We are working like never before together. Chief Eden will talk in just a little bit after Adolfo speaks, but this partnership that's going on is very encouraging to me. So I'm thankful for what Raul's doing, what our DA is doing. I'm thankful for that partnership, and to speak a little bit about that is Adolfo Mendez.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Adolfo Mendez. First, I want to thank the governor and thank the mayor for bringing us here today. So the Bernalillo County District Attorney's Office is committed to reform. It's committed to reform that improves public safety. And part of those reforms are getting smart on crime. This alert program is an example of using data to get smart on crime, to help identify the most serious repeat offenders and provide that information to our office for our prosecutors so that they have that information at the first time a defendant appears before a judge. And so that our decisions as prosecutors are informed by as much information as possible so that we can tailor our prosecutions to the seriousness of the individuals. So this information is very important. It's used in felony first appearances, which is the first time a defendant appears before a judge. And it can only get stronger by the inclusion of other partners to help provide that information. So we'd like to welcome the New Mexico State Police and the Department of Corrections and other state agencies into this partnership and collaboration to bring that data to bear on the decision-making and prosecution to keep our community safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Adolfo, thank you, and I'm sure I'll see Raul soon, and we'll have further discussions. It's really been encouraging to see, and I think it speaks to the idea that we are studying the issue. We have a game plan. We have partnerships in place. We know a lot about what we need to do. So as we study this more and as we develop more partnerships, the mystery of the situation, if there is one, is going away. When you let 2,000 people out of jail, you shouldn't be surprised that crime goes up. So now, nobody's saying you got to put those 2,000 people back in jail, but there are several hundred out there that need our direct, immediate, and urgent attention. And this is about taking valuable resources within public safety, police officers, prosecutors, the judicial system, the state, the city, the county, the federal resources, and putting those resources right at the individuals in our community that are causing the crisis. Imagine if you're a police officer or a state patrol officer or a sheriff's deputy and you've arrested the same person 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, keep counting, over and over and over again. Every time these officers have to do that, that's one more chance for an officer to be shot or killed. That's one more chance for an officer involved shooting. That's one more chance for something to go wrong. So to have our chief of the state police here, to have our sheriff's deputy here, to have our chief of police for the city of Albuquerque, former colleague of mine in the state house, Paul Pacheco, who's now the deputy secretary of corrections, standing here with us as well. It means a lot to me, and I'm just going to turn the microphone over to our public safety professionals to each give you some thoughts on this partnership, what they're up against every day, and some ideas on what they think we can do. I'm going to start with Chief Eden, and then let's just fill in chiefs and deputies and Paul, and give us some thoughts. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, I'd first like to thank the governor and your staff for taking part and joining us in this crime fighting effort. It's a monumental task that we all have. One of the things that's unique about every agency that you see here is that we all have data, we all have information. And what Alert does is bring those data resources all to one point, and that's the Albuquerque Police Department Real-Time Crime Center, whose philosophy is about smart policing. Now that data is all being collected, vetted, and put together, and every Tuesday we put together a list of the most dangerous criminals that are out there. We have seen our criminals escalate from burglary to home invasion to armed robbery. And we firmly believe that with our efforts combined to make sure that the district attorney has the tools that they need for successful prosecution, that we can put more of these repeat offenders in jail and keep them in jail. What we've discovered over the last 30 days in working the alert process on Tuesdays is we started seeing our fugitives popping up outside the city limits of Albuquerque and even outside of Bernalillo County. And we've come up against what can be jurisdictional issues. By adding the New Mexico State Police and the New Mexico Department of Corrections, those jurisdictional barriers and boundaries have now been broken. So I want to thank again Chief Caceres from the New Mexico State Police, his team, and what a great team that they are, Deputy Secretary Paul Pacheco and his team at the New Mexico Department of Corrections for the dangerous work that they do every day. I want to thank them for joining us in what we believe will become the model for future in policing. Thank you.
You want to introduce Pete?
Sure. Pete?
No introduction needed? So thank you for being here. I can tell you that when the governor appointed me as the 21st State Police Chief, I thought to myself, how hard could it be to work for a former prosecutor that's now governor? Wow, did I underestimate that? The governor has been very supportive but very driven in her effort to address the crime issues in New Mexico, the entire state. And I think I'm up to the challenge, Gov, but this is yet another component that you're supporting, and of course the mayor, that helps enhance that ability. There's about 1,200 officers in the metro area, I think. That's a rough estimate, don't hold me to it, between state police, the officers I have assigned here, the county, the city, and corrections. You look at that number, maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower, but we're always tasked with manpower issues, right? We need more officers, we know that. But what are we doing with the manpower and the resources that we have? This is a great example of implementing a plan where we're working together. Believe it or not, unfortunately, law enforcement sometimes doesn't work together well. We have a lot of jurisdictional issues, boundary issues, Resource issues, this is an example of that not taking place. We're all working together for one cause, and that's to address quality of life issues in New Mexico. So what I can add to this from the state police perspective with the governor's support is, and it was alluded to by Chief Eden, is that we know criminals, people doing bad things, aren't just in Bernalillo County. We'll certainly concentrate on those individuals. Matter of fact, the governor talked about our last warrant roundup. 3 of those people we arrested through the efforts of the corrections department in their planning were from the on the alert system. This allows us to work together outside the city limits. So if we have a bad guy living in Los Lunas or hiding out in Las Cruces, the state police and of course the personnel with corrections who have statewide jurisdiction are going to find you and arrest you. Bad guys lose, good guys win. That's what this is all about. Thank you.
On behalf of Sheriff Gonzalez, I'd like to thank the governor, the state chief of police for coming on board with the alert program. I'd like to thank Chief Eden and TJ on allowing the sheriff's department to be a participant in the alert program. I think it's gonna do great things. One of the things that we're asked to do as law enforcement professionals is more with less, and I think we've all seen that over the course of the last several years. Law enforcement is notorious about being proprietary with their information, and information sharing has always provided some sort of barrier between agencies and trying to get initiatives like this off the ground. What Alert has done is it has allowed us to partner with not only our law enforcement brothers and sisters, but also the district attorney's office, federal agencies, in order to share information and identify violent repeat offenders in our communities, and allow us to focus our limited resources on apprehending those people. And it's the future of law enforcement, really, information sharing and working in a collaborative way with your partner agencies to make the most with what you have. And I think this is a great first step. I think the program is already showing that it works. We're happy to be a part of it, and I really appreciative of the state coming on board and working, because we all know that this crime problem isn't located here in the metro. It's a statewide issue from Farmington to Las Cruces, and it can only benefit everybody involved with the state's collaboration. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank the governor, the mayor, the state police, and Gordon, and the sheriff's office and DA's office, and on behalf of Secretary Jablonski, Department of Corrections is very proud to be a part of this collaborative, and I am so glad to see this starting to kind of unfold the way it is. As a police officer for 27 years, I've been wanting this. I've been wanting this information gathering. I wanted to see these walls that we have with jurisdictional issues and not necessarily being able to share information that we all have, not only with our law enforcement brothers and sisters, but our partners in the district attorney's office. And with the help of the governor and leadership of the mayor and the governor, I think this is really going to show we're going to have some great results out of this. The governor and the mayor and the state police chief Caceres mentioned Operation Spearpoint, which happened Monday and Tuesday of this last week, where we had the United States Marshals, Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, State Police, Albuquerque Police Department, New Mexico Department of Corrections STIU unit, and we ended up arresting a grand total of 36 violent offenders. And as the Chief Caceres mentioned, 3 of them were on the alert system, and several of them were from out of the jurisdiction. As a state legislator, the governor knows I was pushing on trying to get legislation to get these repeat offenders off the streets, and I am just proud that we are finally starting to make some progress and start holding these individuals, that 3% of those violent criminals that are committing about 90% of the violent crime in our state. So it's an honor and a privilege, and I thank you all for your leadership. Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
So as we wrap up, I have a few more thank yous, but I want to draw your attention to something that strikes me as the mayor. These folks are good at catching the bad guys. Our public safety professionals are getting to the scenes quickly. They are investigating the crimes. They are arresting people. Governor, thank you for that, for Operation Spearpoint, again, on top of the other efforts. And we did Operation Lily back in the day, and we collaborated. Our law enforcement in New Mexico, at our sheriff's department in Albuquerque, they are really good at their job. So when you think about alert, I want you to think about alert is about once that arrest is made, it's about helping go after folks that where we need to go out and do the warrants. But after it's made, it's also about making sure that the prosecutors, that you take the person that deserves the best prosecutor and putting the best prosecutor on that case. The case that deserves the most experienced detective gets the detective on that case. It's about being smart, and it's about tackling these enormous disruptions that we've seen in the last couple of years with the jail population dropping precipitously, with rulings, with the CMO that came down from the Supreme Court. All of the things that happened really, really disrupted the system. So I have confidence that they're going to continue to be great at catching the folks that need to be arrested. And now I'm more confident both as a mayor and as a citizen that we will get where we want to get over time on this crime issue because of these partnerships, being smart with data, collaborating, knocking down jurisdictional walls, and just really huddling together as a state to tackle these disruptions. So thanks again, Governor Martinez. Thank you to the state police, sheriff's department, the DA's office, our federal partners as well. And a couple of special thanks. TJ Wilhelm at our Real-Time Crime Center spent a lot of time making sure that this new system gets in place. It was built with the help of Scott Darnell. Scott's in the back, our I-Team, which is our Bloomberg-funded efforts to really use data to tackle crime. You'll be hearing much more about that in weeks to come as well. And of course, Chief Eden and his ability and willingness to reach out and extend the hand that's being extended to us by the DA's office and build that collaboration to help keep our city safe. So I know everybody will be available for one-on-one interviews when we're finished today. I thank the media for coming. I thank you for helping us educate our community on what's going on and what we're doing proactively and aggressively to tackle the situation to keep you and your family safe. So thanks to all the leaders that are here today. Have a great day.
Yes.
Thank you.